the scars remind me to appreciate the days I don't have to.
How you doing?
I am well.
Good, good. That's always good to hear. Kalen, how are you?
I'm also well.
All right.
How are you?
Well, I'm doing well considering the fact that I was traveling yesterday, and it's getting to be kind of around Christmas. You might have noticed a few ads on your phone or your television or wherever you watch your content, and Thanksgiving, Christmas. We're doing some in addition to our house. I've got to buy a bunch of Christmas presents, so I decided to go out and to do a signing, and I went to, of all places, Peoria, Illinois. And the only thing, while I was there, I was like trying to bring up Peoria and see how many people live there, and then something would happen, and and of course when I go there, I never really get a chance to see very much. And the only thing that I know about Peoria, of course, Jim, is that Wyatt Earp spent some time there, and that he was known in the area as the Peoria Bummer, and so
in later years, like during the Roaring '20s and Al Capone years, it was sort of a hideout for gangsters too. When things got a little hot in Chicago, they could always slip off to Peoria.
Is that right?
And chill, yeah. It's sort of a gangster redoubt.
Well, it was,
it's always had a certain shady association to it, Even the name kind of invokes a chuckle.
Yeah, well, the name invokes a chuckle for sure. It's just a funny name. But so anyway, I was
like Puyallup, for example, where you were a couple of weeks ago.
Puyallup, yeah,
your
hometown, your high school, yeah.
Puyallup,
yeah. So. Anyway, towards the end of the year, especially around this time of year, it's good to have a little bit of change in my pocket. And since I haven't done anything since Adam Wingard's movie, Onslaught, which we're still kind of waiting to hear when that is going to drop, probably won't hear anything about anything until the new year, but we'll see. Jennifer doesn't like me dipping into the savings, and so I'm going to do another one of these in a couple of weeks, and I forget where it is, but Charlie Sheen is going to be there. And
cool.
Because Charlie and I did Navy SEALs together. They always do a thing at these signings where you, if you've done a movie together, then they'll get that group of people together and you'll all stand there and they'll take pictures of you. So there's a time where, and it's huge, too. It's not San Diego Comic-Con, but it's huge. And so there's a lot of times that, I could go to something like that and never see Charlie or never see Shia LaBeouf is going to be there, and Randy Quaid is going to be there. A lot of kind of interesting people.
Any other Navy SEALs cast members going to be there?
Oh, no. Well, there really aren't any. Because Bill's gone. Rick Rossovich, of course, we talked to on our earlier podcast. Right. The only person that would really would do something like that, or would be well known enough, I think it would be a guy by the name of Dennis Haysbert.
Yeah, I was going to say, because I've seen Dennis recently.
So this is the Steel City Comic-Con. So this is in Pennsylvania. I'm just looking up the list right now. And Ron Perlman's going to be there.
Ron Perlman.
Who you did Magnificent Seven.
Magnificent Seven, yeah.
Linda Hamilton's going to be there.
Linda Hamilton.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there'll be a lot of people that I've worked with, and it's always kind of fun to catch up with people. But I just found it interesting that Charlie would be there, and I haven't seen Charlie since we did Navy SEALs. So I figured when I greeted him, I would say, "Hey, Charlie, how you doing, man?" Geez, what happened to you? I haven't heard anything about you since we finished the movie.
Dropped off the face of the earth.
Wow, yeah. But he's, you know what, looking back.
You're working these days?
I haven't seen his documentary, and I haven't seen, I didn't read his book or I'd seen the documentary or whatever, but he's definitely been out promoting.
Right.
He's on Joe Rogan's show, he's on this show, he's on that show.
Went on Corolla.
Adam Carolla.
Yeah.
He did Adam Carolla show. Maybe he'll do it. Maybe he'll do ours. I'll ask him. But he's just so funny. He he's just the same guy. He's just a very funny, smart, hardworking. He was always there when we were doing Navy SEALs. He was, just always ready to go. And I heard a producer talking about Major League and how committed he was to that. And I don't think it was until he got on that series and started making,
I remember
$3
you and I
million
went
an episode, and
I remember you and I went to see Major League because it had Dennis Haysbert in it. And this was right before you were going to do Navy SEALs, and you had heard that Dennis was going to be cast in Navy SEALs, but you hadn't seen his work previously. So you said, "Hey, Jim, you want to go catch this movie? I want to go see it to see this actor." And it just so happened to be, Charlie was in the movie as well.
Well, both Dennis and Charlie survived that movie a lot better than I did. I think, Dennis went on. Dennis has got he does like a voice. This is CNN. That wasn't him, but he does like the NFL
he does a fair number of commercials too. I've seen him in an insurance commercial. He gets a lot of exposure.
Yeah, and that in the day was very, very, very lucrative. It was like doing commercials. And basically, you could have your setup at home and lay in bed and, wake up and
you could literally phone it in.
Yeah, exactly. So, but Dennis was on that. He did a lot of things, but I know didn't he do West Wing? Was he in West Wing? He did one of the big shows that was very, very, not West Wing?
Not West Wing.
Okay. He did one of the shows.
24?
24? Was he on 24 for a while?
81 episodes.
How many?
81.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. 81 episodes. That's a good payday right there. I can guarantee you with the credits that he had before that.
That would be.
Yeah. That
because the premise of that show was that each episode was an hour, wasn't it? So a season was 24 episodes.
Well, 24 used to be how many episodes we used to do, and that
used to be the number that a TV series could expect for a season.
Yeah, and of course now it's completely different.
6 or 8 maybe.
Yeah. Kaylin, you said you saw
Predator. Badlands. Yeah.
And you what'd you think?
So first the Predator franchise was kind of rebooted with Prey, which was a straight to Hulu. Prey. Yeah,
Prey, which did very, very well.
It was a straight to Hulu movie.
Okay.
So it was a very good.
Yes,
it was very good. It's a Predator set in Native American Indian times.
Okay.
So it's like, how does that work? But it worked, and it was very good.
Yeah.
Very good, very well received.
Yeah.
And then the recent also Hulu animated series.
The one that I did the voices on. Yeah. The voice
fun.
on.
Very fun.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then Badlands was out, and I was excited to see it. I actually went to the theater to see it, which is kind of rare these days. I don't go to the theater often. And, I'll say entertaining for sure. It wasn't what I was expecting of the Predator movies.
Oh, okay. Doesn't he play sort of Reminds
And
me
I will
of-
say that there are going to be I'm going to give some spoilers out here, so I just want to make that clear. If you still want to go see Predator, maybe skip ahead a little bit because I don't want to. Got to give a spoiler alert to people.
Yeah, go ahead.
It was kind of, I thought it was going to be very serious, like a kind of like serious, like the Predator goes to like an alien world and is fighting these creatures, these aliens the whole time.
Yeah.
And it is that, but it's not, it's kind of cute.
Kind of cute.
It's kind of cute.
A
It's like
cute
The character
movie.
itself,
Okay.
the Predator is kind of cute himself.
he gets,
A little ET stuff going on there with the Predator.
well, he runs
Predator
into,
phone home. Yeah,
he-
Predator phone home.
So he runs into, he goes to this world where, because the Predator's all about, I need to defeat, it's all about battle. I'm a warrior. I need to defeat the baddest bad guy that there is. And he hears of this, the bad guy that nobody can kill on this planet. So he goes, I'm going to go there. And he runs into Dakota Fanning, who's a robot.
Okay.
And not just a robot, but a robot for Weyland Yutani.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I've heard that name before.
Yes. So I go, oh, so they're doing a bit of a crossover here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And Dakota's character is like kind of funny. She's kind of like a dumb robot, but she's nice and sweet and funny and cracking jokes. So it becomes kind of like a buddy movie.
Yes. Yes.
And he's the serious, trying to assert himself, and she's cracking jokes and and then at one point they come across this little creature that's not kind of like E.T. if E.T. was able to kill things. And that's a little cute creature but I've heard people online say it would be like if Disney made a Predator movie.
Right.
So like if that's what they were going for, and they did that movie very well.
Right. Yeah.
Doing that it's good, but I didn't expect that.
And-
I thought it was going to be more serious, and so when it started to become cute and funny and lighthearted, I was just a little disappointed in that. But what they were doing, this buddy kind of cute thing, did work well, and it opens up. I mean, this is going to be a huge money maker.
Let me ask you, that Waylani, what's it called?
Weyland Yutani,
Weyland Yutani, whatever.
which
Okay,
was
so-
majorly featured in the Aliens TV series on Hulu.
Okay,
that was a
well,
big part of
but
the TV show.
who created that name? Jim, or was that before? Was Ridley before that,
I think
or?
it was probably Ridley. I don't know. I can look it up.
Okay, so but that name, of course, is associated. I see people wearing the T-shirts all the time. That name is definitely associated with aliens. So, Jim, when you have a name that is made up for a television series, and you've got a company that runs through 5 sequels as the sort of mastermind behind the Terminator and the future and AI and all that sort of stuff. It's just there's just absolutely no copyright where somebody else can just start using Weyland, whatever it's called. Is that you could? It seems to me that's a little.
This is kind of a murky area, and one that I'm sure has been lawyered over completely. I understood that there probably could be some trademark protections against somebody else creating a character named Han Solo, because that character is so identified with Star Wars that I couldn't just go out and make a Western called Han Solo. I could probably be sued and for some kind of copyright infringement, and even the threat of a suit is often enough, even the possibility of litigation is enough to keep companies from even possibly infringing on copyright. I had that happen to me a couple of times as a literary agent. But token, I could write a book tomorrow called The Godfather. Because I didn't have characters in it named Vito Corleone, and it didn't, and it wasn't about the mafia. Nobody would give it. I mean, I would have no problems whatsoever with copyright. So
Well, maybe
titles you can't really copyright, but I think you can get some trademark protection for a character's name if it's so identified with a particular
and I'm not even talking about a character here. I'm just talking about by any
A
chance
name,
are they both
yeah,
owned
even
by
a name.
is Predator owned by Disney? That way,
It would be, yeah,
there
it
wouldn't
is
be any
now.
problem at all. Then if
No,
they
huh,
own
no.
everything else,
Yes, they do.
So they own Predator. They own Disney owns
Issue
it. So
solved.
that's
Issue solved. Yeah. We'll bounce our name. We can do whatever
Yeah.
we want with this name.
Yeah.
You know.
And so I guess the name was first in Alien. But
original.
It was just shown on the computers. That's as far as it went.
Okay.
Then it was mentioned in Aliens, probably again on the computers and stuff. I don't think it really became a thing until Prometheus. That was, Charlize Theron's dad who's taken them on the ship. That was Weyland-Yutani. That's when it first showed itself into the franchise.
Right.
So,
Well, actually, I mean, getting back to Aliens, I mean, it's going to be it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Aliens. I've talked before recently about running into Fede Alvarez, and Fede, seemed to be making, and maybe I'm repeating myself from another podcast, but seemed to be making a point to me. And we were in an airport, and he was going one way, and I was going the other way, and we only talked for about 3 or 4 minutes, but seemed to be making a point to me that he was working with Ridley. I'm working with Ridley, and I was under the impression that he was going to direct the new one. I mean, he directed Romulus, and it was very well received. And then for a long time after that movie came out, they immediately, because it did so well, his name, I thought, was associated with directing the sequel to it. And then about 2 weeks before I ran into him, all of a sudden his name dropped off, and it basically said that he's not directing anymore, that he's producing it. And when I saw him, I think one of the first things I said to him is like, how come you're not directing the second one? I thought you were going to direct, because I had just heard he wasn't directing. How come you're not directing the second one? And he kept saying but he just made a point of saying, I'm working with Ridley, Michael. I'm working with Ridley. And I think that this is just wild conjecture, but I have a feeling Ridley Scott is involved a lot more in that world than he is with Alien Earth. I could be. I mean, his name is on Alien Earth. Right. His name is on it, but and who knows? Ridley's always got about 10 movies he's making at the same time. So,
I mean, I just wanted to finish off by saying, like, it was entertaining. Sure, it was fine. Also, another thing, I don't know. It's funny. We talk about how, movies these days aren't as good as they used to be, and you never want to be the old guy saying, they just don't make them. And I go, no, you should watch the new ones. And lately I've been kind of going like, maybe the new ones aren't as good either. But the last 2 times I've been in the movie theater, like, I'm 33, but it is so loud in those movie theaters. It's like jarring to me. Like, it's distracting how loud it is. I saw this and Mission Impossible, and both times I was like, fuck, it is so loud. I'm screaming at the movie theater going, turn it down a little bit. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Well, like I did when I went to see Leonardo's movie, they'd started it, and I went out and like, well, how come we'll restart it for you. So and it sounds to me like you were the only one in the theater, so that's all you needed to do was walk out and say, hey, could you turn that down a little bit?
I haven't gotten to that level yet, but this crossover that they did, obviously, it leaves like they're going to do it's going to be such a big moneymaker between Aliens and Predator, and a crossover between the two and the universes. Like, it's just
I see some opportunities for Hicks in there. Hicks's grandfather, or Hicks's, they
reconstitute his DNA or something like that,
So another movie that I watched because you asked me to watch it, and I'm pointing at Kalen now, and Stephen Lang is in it. Came out this weekend.
The sequel came out.
The sequel, and what's that called?
The original is called Sisu.
Sisu, and is that the name of the character? You told me that Sisu is the name of the guy.
Yeah.
Listen, this is the perfect role. Okay, the he's like an old man, like my age. like my age, right? So this is I haven't had a chance to see the sequel because I had to go to fucking Peoria, so I haven't had a chance to see the sequel, which Stephen Lang is in, and I've been really reaching out to Steven to see if I'll come on the podcast because we're going to have Jim Cameron on, and Avatar's coming up, and oh, by the way, I'm gonna a week from today, Jennifer and I are going to go see Avatar at some big screening, and
I saw an ad for it on television last night watching a football game.
Yeah, I didn't. I'm always surprised by not ever really seeing that much advertising. The last Avatar, I don't ever remember seeing. And they don't have Avatar dolls. I never see people wearing Avatar T-shirts. All that merchandising that goes around in a lot of movies. I mean,
wouldn't you think? Yeah.
But anyway, so I watched this Sisu. Is that what it's? Sisu. Okay, so I watched this movie, and it's the perfect role. It's the perfect role for me, but some other guy did it, and it's foreign, I think. And so this guy is like a tough guy. He beats everybody up. It's him against the Nazis. It's him against about, 200 Nazis and 3 tanks and a couple of sidecars and all their machine guns, and it's him against this group. He's a gold miner, and he finds some gold, and he's walking down the street, and this German, whatever you call it, group goes by, and they decide to stop him and start fucking with him, and he proceeds to take out 100 German soldiers in very unique ways, and but the great thing about it as an actor, for me, is he never fucking says anything. he never talks, so you don't have to learn any dialogue, man. You just show up at work and you get to play and do some of those stunts, and sit around and have coffee and watch other people do your stunts, and because when you get to be our age, you don't want to be doing it very much. But I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it got a little Quentin Tarantino-ish towards the end when the women were all... The Nazis are traveling with a group of women that they're obviously... got to make sure that you've got some women with you when you're, retreating back to Berlin during World War II, so you have something fun to do, So they've got a group of 4 or 5 very attractive women who they've obviously grabbed onto. And, of course, these women aren't very happy with them. And, towards the end of the movie, they kind of get the upper hand. And, there's one shot in the movie where it's they're on a truck and, it's 2 walking on each side of the truck, and one driving the truck, another one standing up, and they all got machine guns, and it's just I just thought oh wow, this is like a tribute to Quentin Tarantino, or whatever you want to call it. I never know the difference, Jim. All right, maybe you can tell me the difference between when you're doing a nod to Quentin Tarantino, or you just ripping him off. I mean, how does that? When does
I when I worked at Paramount, I worked with one of my colleagues used to say, if you wait long enough to rip something off, to steal from something. You're not ripping it off. You're paying it an homage.
An homage, yeah.
You're paying it an homage. And for him, that was maybe 2 weeks.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but yeah, when you do an obvious tip of the hat, that's an homage.
I kind of have a feeling that's what this was.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed the movie.
Well, I mean, the beginning of Inglourious Bastards, that scene in the farmhouse, is very much an homage to spaghetti westerns, especially to Once Upon a Time in the West
Okay.
on Tarantino's part, because he was kind of steeped in spaghetti westerns.
Okay.
But he's definitely mimicking and paying an homage to spaghetti westerns, the way he framed that whole scene, that whole sequence, that whole opening sequence in Inglourious Bastards. So I'm not surprised somebody would be paying an homage to Quentin.
I thought the opening scene of Inglourious Bastards was that Nazi walking onto that guy's farm.
It is.
Yeah, it's in the farmhouse.
Oh,
and
okay.
he knows that there are Jews hidden in the basement.
He does know that already.
But Nazi knows that.
Well,
and
what's that have to do with what has Quentin done before, where people look at that and go, "Oh, he's doing an homage to Quentin Tarantino"? Is there people hidden in the basement at the beginning of Inglourious?
How the way he composes the shots, how long he lingers on the shots, how long the sequence, that he's just drawing it out, and it's very much an homage to the way spaghetti westerns, especially Once Upon a Time in the West, unfolds.
Okay.
In fact, the very opening of it is very similar to that.
Okay.
The very opening of Once Upon a Time in the West is very similar to that. So I think it's, I don't know if Quentin would cop to it. He probably would, but I think it's pretty clear that opening of Inglourious Bastards was him sort of, tipping his hat to spaghetti westerns.
Yeah.
And he very much knows spaghetti westerns because he utilized them in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He talks about Leonardo going off to do spaghetti westerns. That's part of the plot. So, anyway.
What's it's not crazy. It is what it is because certain things happen in Star Wars and blah blah blah. But my 10-year-old son, Dashiell, is just like, I guess, the new Stranger Things is coming out on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
Wednesday at 2 p.m. and he is just going nuts, man. He is just absolutely going nuts. And he and Jennifer have sat and watched the entire first 4 seasons of it, and getting ready. It's kind of what Jim Cameron wanted everybody to do with Avatar. It's like, we're going to show you Avatar 2 again if you want to see it, just so you're kind of caught up. So when 3 comes out, and of course Jim is, and of course Jim is the exciting thing. Is I'm not sure if Jim's hard to kind of get to in public now. People clamor around him like a rock star. So it's a little bit more difficult to walk up and just say, hey, I did it when I was backstage when I was giving him the awards.
At the Saturn Awards?
Yeah, at the Saturn Awards, and and we talked and we were backstage. But when he's out and about, and there have been times before. I remember when Susie, his wife, had put out a cookbook. They're all into eating real healthy and stuff like that. And I just wanted to say goodbye to him. And there's 30 people around him waiting to get there. 10 seconds or 20. It's like Obama walking around. It's like. But anyway, I'm very, very excited. It turned out that there had already been one premiere and or screening of it, and we'd been invited, but Jennifer's got 30 emails. She uses aliases, and I'm not sure what her whole thing is, but she's got like 3 phones.
I never, if I'm going to copy her on something, I never know which email to send it to.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, we didn't get the invite, and then I think this time around they're like, "Hey, you're going to interview Jim. Are you going to come see the movie or not?
You're going to bother to see the picture?"
Yeah. So we're going to go out a week from today, and so we'll see the new Avatar, which I'm looking forward to. It'll just be very exciting to see the new Avatar, and it will be in a format that is the way that you're supposed to see it. Mm-hmm. Unlike, like the last one I watched probably was on my phone.
Yeah.
Or went back to
loses a little something.
I think
it gets a little confusing too, because when the last one came, so the first one I went to the premiere to go see that.
Okay.
Right? You gave me tickets to go see that.
Okay.
And I went there, and it was the coolest thing that I have ever seen in my life. With the glasses on, how it's made to see, being in that world was just amazing. That was actually kind of the first time I met Bill Paxton.
Okay.
Too,
okay.
As an adult. So then the second one comes out, and they have so many different kinds of theaters now. It's not just like regular or IMAX or 3D. They have like regular, they have IMAX, they have 3D, and then they have other just random like Cine X, Cinedome that you don't know. Like when you try and go to a movie and you go like, all right, how should I watch this? Every movie theater has like 3 or 4 different kinds of theaters
that's true.
You go to see it. And I go, which one? Like, okay, obviously this one is sold out, so everyone's going to see. Can I go to the next one down? Is that still going to be just as good as the other one? But it's getting so confusing with all the different kinds of theaters that they have. I wonder if like I went to the wrong type of theater for the second one than I did the first one, and it just gets so confusing.
Yeah, well, I don't, and I have a feeling that in this situation we're going to. We got the invite from Lightstorm, so I'm sure that we'll see it in its proper form. Now, Jim, you probably don't know this, and you probably don't know this either, but when we go to watch that movie, will we be putting on 3D glasses?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
For sure.
Well,
probably, yeah, I would think so.
Okay. Well, what's interesting is that I sent Jim, my dad, back in the 19. Back in the night. Send that to, if you've got that on your phone.
Yeah,
send that
I
to
can do that.
Kaylin, and then Kaylin can maybe put it up. But back in the 1955, Kodak came up with a camera, and the camera had 2 lenses on it. So when it took the picture, both lenses took the picture. And the way that you look at the movies is you take the film negative, which is in a little square box, and you put it inside of like a viewfinder, and then you bring it up to your face, and you press a button, and it lights up. And the depth of field in those photographs is startling. It's just like really, really amazing, and they're beautiful, beautiful, beautiful pictures, but they have that depth of field, which still to this day, you can go on your computer and you can't find any pictures that have a depth of field.
No, not even a high def TV doesn't quite convey the field of vision there, the 3D quality to it.
One of the things that when we speak to Jim, I really wanted to talk to him about was that sense of perspective and that 3D feeling, because I would think that if you were making a movie and you could especially if you didn't have to wear glasses, but you're going to be wearing glasses anyway. But so when you're watching movies here in the very near future, instead of on a device, you'll be watching them on your glasses. And maybe there's just something you click on your glasses to make it 3D. But it would seem to me that like a movie that was done like totally in 3D would be more interesting, that has that depth of field to it, because it makes it feel real. It makes it feel like, as I sit here and talk to you, I can see you're there and the wall behind you, and you can, and that Kodak made it, that camera and that technology was around in 1955. And so there are pictures of my brother, who was 2 at the time. I've got about 90 pictures, and my mom is lighting. My dad is obviously taking the picture. My mom is lighting a candle, or has lit the candle, and my older brother Steve is 2, and he's blowing out the candle. And what's kind of funny is behind Steve, you can see a shelf that's about 6 feet high and like a little basket on top of the shelf. That's where I am. I'm an infant at that point. I'm he's August, so I'm truly only 10 days old, I think. My birthday's July 31st. Is August 11th or 12th, 11th. So I'm 10 years old. And, I'm on a basket behind him on a shelf. You can't see me, but that's obviously what's going on. But I find that, so I wanted to bring that. So I sent that to you, Jim. I don't know if you got a chance.
I just forwarded it to Kaylin.
Okay. So,
and it says the years of manufacture were 54 to 59.
Well, and that's interesting, because they quit.
Yeah.
They quit making them, and the real reason, I guess, they probably quit making them, or quit making the can. We didn't have the can. We don't. My family still does not have the. We don't have the camera. We just have the pictures, and we have a device that you put
view them on,
that you see them on, and that device doesn't seem that much different than back in the day when your next door neighbor would go on a vacation and then come back and bore you for 2 hours with their trip to the Ozarks.
Well, when I was a kid, there was a device you could buy called the Viewmaster, and you would hold it up to your eyes, and you had a disc with a whole bunch of pictures, like maybe the Grand Canyon. Pictures of the Grand Canyon, and when you held it up to your eyes and clicked, it would go from one picture to the next, kind of pass this disc through the Viewmaster. But these pictures were 3D. They had that quality about them. Yeah,
they were. And when was that, Jim?
It was called Viewmaster, and you could get, like, you could buy all different kinds of pictures. Like maybe the Italian Positano coast, or the Grand Canyon, or the Alps, or usually it was some kind of spectacular nature, setting, some kind of great visuals. But it was called Viewmaster.
Well,
it was 3D, because you'd hold it up to your face. It sort of fit over your nose, and there was a opening for each eye, so you're looking at two different, at two different things, and if you just looked at, and these were slides, like for a slide projector, these little slides, and there were, and they came on a disc, so there were a whole bunch of these little slides, and then you just click the Viewmaster, and it would go from one slide to the next, to the next, to the next.
Yeah. Well, I'm aware of that, but I've seen slides, but I have never ever in my life, and I think that I've seen what you're talking. Jim, people used to come back from their vacations and show slides all the time. Now, a Viewmaster, when you're watching a Viewmaster, do you have to take are you wearing anything? You'd have to take the film and you put it into something, or it's already in there, or you take each...
No, you have to. It came on little paper discs, and
Okay.
each disc might have 25 or 30 pictures on it, and they were on the rim of the disc, and then the disc would slide so that every time you click, the disc would advance one picture.
Well, these...
And
Yeah.
and the system came into existence in 1939. Viewmaster system was introduced in 1939, 4 years after the advent of Kodachrome color film.
Well,
So,
whatever you're talking about, Jim, is not what I am talking about.
but you
Because,
got you had a similar effect,
Yeah,
I
it'd
think,
be
when you viewed the image. It was a 3D, very vivid 3D image. But the difference was that you were looking at pictures that somebody else had taken, that came preloaded onto the disc. But
yeah, of the...
and those cameras that you're talking about sold. I think they said that they sold about 100,000 of them in 4 years.
Yeah, they did, but I don't quite understand why they quit selling them. I don't...
Yeah, I don't either.
Those pictures, and we have 1,000 pictures. My dad, was a camera nut, and he was always taking pictures and film. We have films of me playing Pony League, or I forgot what they call it, football. Like when I was
Pony
12,
League, sure.
and Pop Warner, I think they called it in Nebraska. And so my dad always had, we had bits of film. When we got really bored, we would at our house, or it was snowing or raining in Lincoln, we would bring the film out and make fun of each other's performances on the football field. And I was always I was like a linebacker, but for some reason I was always kind of like not sticking my nose in. I always just seemed to be kind of running backwards, playing defense, maybe taking an angle, and my brother,
you can run a fast 40 backwards. Yeah.
That was my defense. My brother used to always make fun of me. We'd put those things on. He'd, instead of me sticking my nose in there and making a tackle, I was like, get away from me. But I remember wearing all that stuff. So one of the things that I thought about, because I have the viewfinder and I have the three. I don't understand, Jim, the difference between what you're talking about and what I'm talking about, because I've been around long enough that I think that I would have seen. There's also that very old-fashioned thing where you've got a stick of wood and you've got a picture, just a normal picture that you put in a frame, and then you like, this goes back to like the 1800s or something, I think, and then you've got, I think it's like a glass or something that you push forward, push back.
Stereo optic something or other.
I don't know,
Opticon or something like that.
Yeah, it's not stereo. That's the thing about the movie, the show that are the pictures that I have, which are, and we won't be able to reproduce them for the show, because once you put them on a device, they don't turn it into 3D anymore. It has to be put in that device. And anyway, so I thought I would bring that possibly when we spoke to Jim, which will be the day after Avatar opens, which is that the 20th?
That's when we're talking to him.
Okay, so Avatar opens on the 19th, and we'll be talking to Jim on the 20th at Lightstorm. But I started thinking about these photographs, and then I started thinking about what are the origins of 3D, because the first time I ever heard about 3D was when I was, like 10, and we would go to a drive-in movie, and there would be two shots, and they'd call it 3D. They would advertise it as 3D, and there would be like 3 or 4 or 5 shots in the movie where the monster actually looked like it was jumping out of the screen, and then that was just one 3D shot. And they, and there would be a few of them, and I don't know what it'd be interesting. I think the reason why Jim is working with Meta is because I have a feeling there's nobody in the world that knows as much about 3D technology as per, using it in a film setting, when I say film, a digital setting, than Jim Cameron. So I think that's one of the, that's you. What did you just send me, Jim?
An interesting article about the history of 3D imagery.
Oh, okay.
Dating back into the 1800s. Stereoscopic imagery is what they called it. But
yeah, well, that thing that you sent me before, stereoscopic, and that's just not what I'm. That's
no. This is a different article. This is basically how long it's been around. What the very earliest examples look like, and
yeah,
so
maybe the thing that I look like has got the same technology, but was just these pictures were. They're stunningly interesting to look at. I've never seen them before. I've never seen them, I've never seen them in museums. I've never seen anybody else who has them. But you can, you put it in the viewfinder, you turn on the light, and you look inside of it, and it is a picture.
It almost looks like it's right in front of you.
Well, it's got a
like you would walk into it.
Well, yes, and it's got a depth of field to it.
Yes,
that's the most important thing, is that it's got a depth of field. So, I thought I would ask Jim about that. There's a lot of things that I'm not sure how long we'll have him for, because his time is pretty important.
Limited for him, I'm sure.
But I did want to talk to him about 3D and kind of where that started, and who invented it, and what is the future of 3D? Because
how does that tie into his situation with Meta?
Yeah,
with those glasses with Meta, yeah.
And if you can make a movie that looks like that, looks like those pictures that I was.
Oh my God!
Looking at,
it's.
It would be like
being there. It would be like being there.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm.
Well, I mean, that is kind of. I mean, that's what the first Avatar. When I said earlier, when I went to go see it in the theater, I was supposed to be seeing it with the glasses it was made for. That's what it felt like. It felt like I was on that planet. I felt like when he's running through the forest and it had that depth of feel to it. When he kind of floats amongst the floating islands. The whole first one, and the second one, like when I watched it, it didn't. It was still 3D, but it didn't feel as immersive as that one. And I was wondering if I saw it in like the wrong theater, the wrong way, because the first one, it really felt like that, which is why I said it was like the coolest thing I had ever seen.
Mm-hmm. Was it the first 3D movie you'd ever seen?
I mean, they had gimmicky 3D stuff in the past. But it was
yeah. They had that back in the 50s,
Yeah.
I think one of the House of Wax movies was a 3D, early 3D.
And since Avatar, I mean, they tried to do 3D a little bit, and the only other movies that kind of lived up to it a little bit was Alita, Battle Angel.
Yeah.
I saw that one in 3D.
Which Jim Cameron wrote also, and I always tell that story about...
Yeah, it was one of the two, wasn't it?
Yeah, one of the two that Jim sat on for 10 years waiting for the technology to catch up, and he got so overwhelmed with the success. Oh, by the way, if I believe of Avatar that he gave Robert Rodriguez, Alita, Battle Angel to shoot and make, and I thought Robert did a really good job with it. It was not as successful as...
So much fun. It was so much fun seeing it at the theater. I loved it.
Yeah. I really liked it too, but I saw, and I wasn't aware of this, but I saw something recently about the top 5 box office movies of all time, and 2 of them were Avatars, and one of them was Titanic. So out of the
really?
Yeah. So how much have the 2 Avatar movies made?
So they both made. So the first one made 2.9 billion.
$3 billion, Jim, for the first Avatar. 3 effing billion. I mean that is okay, and
then the second one made 2.3 billion.
2.3 billion.
Oh, you're over $5 billion at that point.
You're over $5 billion, and then what's in third place? Is it?
Well, technically, the second Avatar is in third place. The second place movie is Avengers Endgame.
Yes.
But then the fourth movie is Titanic with 2.2
I thought
billion.
Avengers Endgame at one point overtook Avatar.
It did, but these numbers are padded a little bit because James will re-release his movies in theaters and then bump the numbers up.
Yeah,
right.
But Titanic also made $1 billion.
Made $2.2 billion.
$2.2 billion.
Wow.
Man, if you're a businessman, you want to make a movie, you want to go talk to Jim Cameron. You know what's interesting? I thought Jim would be interesting also to talk to him about so many things that could talk to him about. But and by the way, if I got a new phone, so I can't type back to people who I like sometimes to look at the comments of the show, and people will say something, and I'll fucking wisecrack them back or talking. But I got a new phone, and so far I'm unable to do that just because.
You need to sign in or some bullshit like that.
Yes, so it's been
too.
frustrating for me to look at the comments and go, "Oh, wait a second, no, I can't."
Oh, I got an
back.
answer for that. Yeah, I got an answer for that. Yeah,
but. It'll be so interesting to talk to him because of the different things that he's doing. So he's got the whole thing. He's got Avatar coming out. The day before we see him, which is like in. He's like a $10 billion guy now, like his movies are. I mean, that just I would think, he's got 3 movies that are in the top 5 movies of all time movies. And I know that Titanic was the #1 movie for about 20 years. And there was always...
I think it was until he overtook it with Avatar.
Yeah, and one of the things that I was always surprised about was that, I had that conversation with him where he said, "Michael, I have to wait for the technology to catch up to my vision before I can make Avatar or Alita Battle Angel." And I was like, cool, all right. But then he waited 10 years before that conversation I had with him and him making Avatar. So that happened. And he was, of course, diving and doing all sorts of other things, and diving in the Titanic, and doing documentaries and doing plenty of other things during that time.
I went down to the studios last week to just look at his office and see where we're going to be filming and stuff.
Yeah.
You probably won't see it in the shot when we interview him, but there was a little thing sitting in his office, and I didn't know what it was. It was like this replica something, and I asked the guy, I said, "What is that thing?" He says, "That's the submersible that Jim took down into the abyss when he went down lower than anyone else. That's a replica of the
What's that area, Jim, called?
The Marianas Trench, I believe.
Yeah, that's the low.
I think it's the deepest point on the Earth.
Okay. So it's like the opposite of K2 or not K2.
Or K2 or Rainier or Everest.
Everest, yeah, the opposite of Everest. And he went down. He went down by himself on that one, right? That's not the one where he...
Yeah, I think he was by
I told
himself.
you stories before about Bill telling me when he took him down to Titanic. And Bill fucking just scared out of his mind. Just absolutely stunned. Just absolutely scared to death. Which I probably... There's something very reassuring about Jim, though, as far as
it's 36,000 feet below sea level.
36,000
yeah,
feet.
Everest is 20. I think Everest is like 27,000
What's
feet.
Titanic
I think Titanic's about 15,000.
15, and he went down 36.
He went down
That's
another
almost,
20.
that's almost
another
7
tw-
miles.
7 miles
Almost,
down
yeah.
in a submersible.
Well, look what the pressure at Titanic level did
Yeah.
to that last submersible
Yeah.
that went down, you
Yeah.
know?
Well, so
And if you-
the lower
if you-
you go, the more pressure there
Of
is.
course,
Yes,
definitely
yeah.
by astronomical degrees.
Yeah.
So, God, I mean, you got to be a really trusting soul in that submersible. I mean, Jesus, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, if there's anybody to go down in a submersible with, it would definitely be Jim.
He was featured pretty prominently on the 2-hour ABC special about 6 months ago that looked into that submersible that blew up. Jim
Well,
was quoted
that
quite a bit on it. He said he was very skeptical of that design.
he
to begin with.
was,
Yeah.
and I think that whole situation, that guy was a real sort of gambler, sort of
Yeah,
you know,
showboat kind of, you know.
Yeah, what didn't follow the rules. Let's put it that way. There are certain there are certain, you know, qualifications that you have to meet before you're allowed to make those type of dives with submersibles.
Oh yeah.
And he just was like, man, I don't need to do that one. I don't need to do that.
I don't know how
the rig that they were operating was controlled by a video game.
I was going to say,
so
I don't know how trusting I would be of going to that depth with a video game joystick in my hand to maneuver the damn thing. And it's not tethered to anything. It's operating on its own with a computer game joystick.
Yeah.
Or control panel,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, there's another big mystery with that thing, and I didn't really see any. I haven't seen a documentary on it, but I remember. I think Jim mentioning it at the time was that I think that Jim knew, you know, from the moment they lost communications.
Comms.
The moment you lose communications. And I think there's also something that shows where the submersible is. You can like look on a map and see where it is, and it kind of disappeared from that map. He said at that moment that there was no other explanation other than that thing was just gone. It was just imploded, like happened to me in the Abyss. I think I'm the only actor. I'm sure this maybe not true, but I'm not aware of any other actor who's ever died in implosion. Plenty of people have died in explosions, but not that many actors have died in an implosion. So that's what happened to those people. Is what happened to Coffee in the Abyss, and. I'll get to it because I want to talk to it, and I'll talk to him about it too, and I'll get to Ghosts of Hiroshima. But it's like sometimes with Jim, I just want to go like, I wonder if he just says to himself like, like how hard of a movie how difficult can I make this? How do I challenge myself and my crew to make a movie on a certain budget? Like, like. Jim, and Kaylin, you know how hard it is to make a movie. Wait, Jim. You just know how hard it is to watch a movie, all right? Make a movie. It's just difficult. There's just so many. And to make a good movie, fucking now, let's try it underwater. Let's try doing the same thing underwater. Okay, Jim, we'll get right on that. Go ahead, Jim. What were you
I saw that Jaws at 50 documentary this past summer, and Jim Cameron's quoted a fair amount in it.
Oh, he is.
He is. And at one point he says, every time I make a movie on water, Stephen will say to me, don't you remember?
Yes.
Because he's never made another one on water since Jaws, Don't you remember how hard that is?
Yes.
Don't you remember?
I've heard this about Jaws, and I've never really researched Jaws, and I don't know anything about it, but it makes sense to me. And these are the kind of minds, because when you think about Ghosts of Hiroshima, okay, which is, according to Jim, the next movie that he's going to make, although I'm not sure that he's written it yet, or he might be in the process of writing it. It's like a pretty dark place to go as far as making a movie. You know, you're gonna show what happened to the Japanese after those two bombs blew up over in Japan in World War II. And you think, like, how can you possibly make a movie that is like palatable, that you just don't walk out of the movie just going like, oh God, that was like what happened to those people was horrible. And I've been listening to the book, and but when you think about it, you know, Titanic wasn't really the most uplifting event that happened in the early 1900s or whenever it was. And Spielberg made Schindler's List, and he made that horrible.
Well, and the opening 20 minutes of Private Ryan, my God.
Yeah. But that's the opening 20. Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So I mean, that Ghosts of Hiroshima will be interesting. It'll be interesting. Also, with Ghosts of Hiroshima, Jim Anderson.
Yeah.
Jim Cameron, for the first time in his life, as far as I know, will be adapting somebody else's book or ideas. I mean, he could have made this movie on his own, and I think that he met this guy, and I think he made a promise to this guy that he was gonna make this book, because you don't, you know, he doesn't need, I don't think, you know, he's never adapted anything. He's written and produced everything he's ever made. Isn't that correct? Terminator, Aliens, The Abyss.
Anything he's done, yeah. I mean, he wrote Rambo. He wrote a Rambo script, but
anything that he's
career,
directed, he wrote and produced at the same time. Correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, Aliens was an already established
Correct.
thing, so I mean, but he still wrote it himself. But
yeah. But it'll just be interesting, because I'm not a writer, and I like fudging around with dialogue and playing with dialogue, and I like pointing out.
So there are a couple things. So
all right, go ahead.
I just googled. So Titanic, parts of the script were sourced from a nonfiction book called Her Name, Titanic: Untold Story of Sinking and Finding, by Charles Pellegrino, who's the same guy that did Ghosts of Hiroshima.
Okay.
That's the same guy.
No, say that again.
So it says parts of the script were sourced from the nonfiction book Her Name, Titanic: Untold Story of the Sinking and Finding of the Unsinkable Ship by Charles Pellegrino.
Okay, Charles Pellegrino, look him up, because I thought the book that Jim was doing on Ghosts of Hiroshima, I thought that was, I guess it's a book based on this guy's life. I thought the guy that, and as I was listening to it, I kind of thought, God, this guy was a really good writer for being whatever he was when it's kind of based on a character. I wouldn't say it's there's a lot of stories in it, but the major story, and I thought that he had met the guy who was bombed in Hiroshima, whose family lived in Nagasaki, was bombed in Hiroshima, survived that, got on a train, took the train up to Nagasaki, and got bombed again in Nagasaki. And I thought that that's what the book was based on, and I thought he wrote that book. But while I was listening to that book, because you can't read it, it's not, you can only get it on Audible. As I was listening to it, I was like, God, this guy's like a good writer, for being just some, Japanese kite maker or whatever. I forget exactly, what it was. And I haven't really delved into it too much, because Jim's interview is still a long ways off. But I can't wait to talk to him about all that all that kind of stuff. And on top of it, you know, there's if you watch the last a year ago right now, Jim did an interview with Gail Hurd, and they were talking about the 40-year anniversary of the Terminator, and it's on YouTube, and it's about an hour, and they talk about, hey Jim, what's the idea of like when Jim sold the Terminator to Gail for $1. What does that mean? What does that? You're aware of that, correct? And that whole idea of selling something for $1. Do you know what that means?
Well,
or why he would do that?
Legally there has to be some consideration, something of value. So you can for a contract to be valid. So $1 is something of value. It's obviously a nominal amount. He's more or less giving it away at that point or conceding it. But legally there needs to be some consideration. I think that's why you do it for $1. You're basically
it seems
conceding
online
or giving
the
it away.
reason that he did it, and I can figure out exactly why. The reason that he did it is so he could direct the movie. He was an unknown director, and studios were wanting his script, but they didn't want him to direct because he was unknown. So for whatever reason, him being able to sell it to Gail and Hurd ensured that he would then be able to direct the movie.
How if you're the studio and you can't direct the movie, and then you say, well, I'm going to sell it to my girlfriend here for $1. Okay, you can direct it. That doesn't really seem to make
well,
much.
I guess we can find out when we talk to him.
Yeah.
How that works.
I guess so. But and I also want to know is like, how did he lose the rights to that? Or, how did Gail end up losing the rights to that? And
but because they weren't established filmmakers.
No, I know, but
point.
But it wasn't Hemdale that owned it. It wasn't.
I don't even think it was Orion either.
I wasn't Orion who owned it either. So
because who did the second one? Who did T2? Wasn't that Canon or which who is responsible for Terminator 2?
I don't know. I think Kaylin's looking it up. But
I just saw that Skydance Media currently controls the rights, having acquired them in 2011 and securing a deal with James Cameron.
In 2011.
Yeah.
So Jim owned it up until 2011.
That's what it looks like.
Okay. All right. Well, going back to Avatar, one of the things that was interesting that Jim said, like, oh, we've got to wait 10 years for the technology to catch up. Well, he did Avatar 2. No, he did Avatar. And then check and see how many years between Avatar and Avatar 2. Because that was also another 10 years or something.
Oh, yeah.
The original one is 2009, and the sequel was in 2022. So that would be 13
he waited
years.
12 years. And during that time, he was working on Avatar the entire time, correct? I mean, he wasn't making, there's no other. Yeah,
he wasn't making any other movies.
Yeah. No features. No, I think he might have done a documentary or two, done some of that stuff. But
the idea that first he waited 10 years to make it for the technology to catch up, and it'd be interesting because I was worried at the time for him, because I thought, most sequels, you want to get them out just as soon as possible because you want to jump on the fact that everybody's so excited about the last one, they can't wait to see this one,
Oh, if it's the biggest money maker of all time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's turn around and do it again right away. So the idea of doing it 12 years later, I mean, for it to actually come out 12 years later, to me is like, was there more I mean, I know it was underwater, so there was all of that was involved, but was it because there was just more technology that he needed to? Because I can't think of any other reason he wouldn't have just shot it and put it out, and there's no reason for him to wait 12 years unless there's a reason for him to do that. And so anyway, we'll have a lot to talk to him about But I was worried.
I'm just seeing that, some of it was new technology that specifically because the second one is so underwater.
Okay.
That I think maybe some of the technology for him to film that kind of stuff, but underwater might have taken more time to develop. Maybe
12 years.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's amazing. And I've also said, people use the word brilliant, genius, and there's a certain genius, I think, in having the patience to wait 10 years for the technology, or for you to create the technology, or for it to
that's really
catch.
what he had to do, more or less.
Yeah. And then, so anyway, going back, he did an interview with Gale it was about a year ago right now, I'd say. And it was basically the making of the Terminator. That's where I came up with the $1 thing. Well, I sold it for $1. What does that mean? I thought I've heard of other intellectual properties that are sold for $1, and I've never quite understood what that whole thing means. But anyway, so in its Gale talking about meeting Jim and then her taking it out from studio to studio and everybody laughing at them, not laughing at them, but just saying that we don't want it, we don't want it, we don't want it, we don't want it. And
Not
then
for
them
us.
finally getting it made, and then how they got it made. And it's basically a 1 hour interview with the two of them about the making of the Terminator that came out about a year ago. But towards the end of that interview, they start talking about AI, and obviously the Terminator, and but Jim starts talking about AI as it relates to war, and he doesn't get too far into it, but I just found it kind of interesting now, a year later, and AI and war, Russia, America, Japan, China, and I don't remember what he said, but he said enough to make me want to hear more about his ideas about the way that he thinks AI is going to be affecting war. And
I think we'll probably see signs of that.
Have you seen the new Catherine Bigelow movie, Jim? That is basically
House
kind
of Dynamite.
What's it
Yeah,
called?
House of Dynamite.
House of
I just
Dynamite.
watched it last week, actually.
Did you watch it? You like it?
So I had heard online
Yeah.
that everyone hated the ending, that the ending was horrible. And so I wasn't going to watch it. But then a buddy of mine who I go to for movies was like, you should give it a try. And so there's going to be a little bit of spoilers in this too if you haven't seen it. It's on Netflix. It's been out for a while.
Yeah.
The movie is about a missile that is launched from halfway across the world to America.
Yes.
And it's
Towards.
about that 30 minutes of trying to intercept essentially
Yes.
what they think is a nuclear missile.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the first third of that movie is one of the most exciting, electric,
Minute by minute. Yeah.
heart-pounding
Yeah.
thrillers that I've ever seen. It was phenomenal, the first third of the movie. And the first third, it's them and they're it's Rebecca Ferguson. She's in the control room. They're looking at it. They're trying to intercept the missile. And the first third ends when the missile is about to hit.
Yes.
Then it stops.
Yes.
Then it shifts perspective.
Yes.
And then it starts over again.
And Jim, what's that word you use when you have 4 different perspectives?
Rashomon.
Rashomon, yeah.
That
All right,
famous Japanese movie.
That's what happens in this one. So
Right. So
keep
then
going.
so then the second third plays out.
With different characters.
No, well, you see the characters you see the characters on on the screen on a Zoom call, but it's focused on Rebecca Ferguson and she's in this control room.
Yes.
But she's on the call with the military guys and the White House guys, and so you see them on the screen.
Yes.
Right.
So then the second third is from one of the military generals' perspectives.
Yes.
So then that second third plays out, and it's
And
still
it ends at the same time.
it ends at the
correct?
same time.
Okay.
And it's good in the way that the first third was good, but the first third is so good and it leaves such a cliffhanger that it's almost distracting to the rest of the movie. So when the second third starts, you go like, oh, this is what we're doing. We're starting over. Okay, I'll watch it, but like I need to know what happens. I need to know what happens.
Right.
So then the second third ends at the same spot. Then it shifts perspective again to the president.
Now you're talking about the third.
The third.
Yes.
Yeah, the third.
And it's the president's point of view.
It's Idris Elba and
Yes.
Jared Harris is in it.
Yeah,
He's in it too.
Yes.
And I had heard that everyone hated this ending. And I went, oh, we're doing this again. We're just like, I've already seen all this before.
Yes.
And I just I didn't even watch the third.
Oh, you didn't?
I skipped. No, because I knew what they were doing. They're resetting it again now from another perspective. But it's like I just want to know what happens. I just want to know what happens.
Right.
It's so exciting.
Right.
I don't want to watch this all. And I heard that the ending sucked. So then the ending happens, and spoiler alert, you'd never find out what happened.
Yeah.
So I just skipped that last part and went straight to the ending and watched and went, that's a pretty disappointing ending.
Okay. Well, okay.
It sounds like The Sopranos.
It's obviously the movie is it's what the whole point of the movie isn't what happens afterwards. It's what would happen in this type of situation and looking from the angles. So like I understand what they're doing, but like I just wanted that first third was so good and it left such a cliffhanger. I was like, I just need to know what happens. And so when it ends and nothing happens, you go like fuck.
Did you watch the credits?
No.
Okay. Well, if you would have watched the credits, if I'm not mistaken, from when I watched it, when you watch the credits, you start hearing fucking bombs going off in the credits. Just not that is going to solve any problem that you might have with watching sort of the same from a different perspective. But I was, just so you're aware, that was my understanding of like they never figured it out. They all got blown up. So like that's a whole different movie. That's Ghosts of Hiroshima.
Yeah.
You know.
There was one thing. You watched the whole movie.
Yeah.
So there was one thing.
And the credits.
Yeah. Well, the thing about Netflix too is you'll watch a movie and then when it ends,
you can press
it'll shrink and it'll go, oh, if you like this movie, you should watch. So you only so you have to click and be like, oh yeah, I want to watch the credits. Who's gonna fucking do that? Well, you are, I guess. But the one thing I didn't get to is so the missiles come in and then they devise this plan. Okay, well, we need to launch missiles at everyone else.
They're trying to figure that out.
Because they don't know where it's coming from.
They don't know where it's coming from. So the answer is to nuke everybody else because you don't know where it's coming from. Like, I guess there's obviously a lot of research has been done into this topic, but I don't understand how the response is. You don't know who launched this missile. So then you just launch. So then you hit everybody, even though you don't know who did it. It seemed like a wild overreaction to what was happening.
Well, that has real.
That's
Dr.
compared to
Strangelove
having, like, I think
to it.
basically in the movie they say, okay, you're going to lose Chicago. Yeah. Chicago's going to be gone, and if you wait, Mr. President, you are then putting yourself in a situation where you're behind the 8-ball or whatever. You're behind China, you're behind Russia, and we're just going to get demolished more than
pounded.
Yeah.
But and then there's the whole thing of like we need to hit these sites, right? We need to hit these sites. It's like everybody has nuclear submarines too, right? You can't hit a nuclear sub. Like Russia, China, they got nuclear subs. So yeah, you could hit a couple of their bases, but they can still launch a fucking nuke out of the ocean. So the major players could do that too.
Yeah. One submarine can take out the West Coast, with the multiple warheads that they possess. Yeah.
Anyway, I enjoyed it. I found it. I found it very interesting. And you mentioned one of the actors who was the guy who was in Chernobyl,
Jared Harris.
I hadn't seen him since Chernobyl, which is like a movie that I just actually
series
is just like brilliant. So I don't know if Jim has seen that movie, but Jim has always had this thing about nukes. And if you watch T2, I mean, it's all about nukes, and it's about destroying the planet. And the Abyss is not all about, but it's got a nuclear kind of backstory that is the whole thing. So it'll be interesting to see what Jim thought about that. And then of course he's doing Ghosts of Hiroshima. But on top of all of that, I'm going to be able to sit and ask him, okay, Jim, here we are 40 years later, like you predicted, and here's AI, you were able to 40 years ago say,
what did you know back then?
Well, how and I can ask him, you could have said 20 years, you could have said 90 years. Do you remember coming up with that idea 40 years? Because 40 years really hit it on the nail, because it was last year. Because now it's like you can't pick up a magazine, a newspaper, you can't look at your phone without AI going on. You just can't do it anymore. And it was last year to me that really
everything that I Google on this show, I essentially just read like the AI thing. If you ask me something and the fastest way for me to give you an answer is when you Google something, it has the AI answer rather than, I'm going to click on this article. No, I'm going to click on that one.
Yeah.
It's the AI overview is essentially like, it's essentially what I'm looking at.
Well, he called it exactly.
Well, in that little speech of yours from the movie,
Yeah.
40 years from now or 40 years into the future, became like a social media meme.
Well,
I was seeing that all over the place.
Yeah,
I got forwarded that a couple of times. I know.
Yeah. Well, that was me saying to her, of course. That was, this is who you are. That's who that thing is.
Yeah.
This is your future. And she says that can't happen. And Kyle Reese says to her, no, not for about 40 years. Well, he made that back in 1983. So, I mean, the idea that he said 40 years instead of 100 years. I mean, what did he know? And I kind of wanted to know, like, even the beginnings of AI. Like, how did that even start? When did people start thinking, there's something that we're going to call artificial intelligence that, I mean, he had to have been aware of something back in 1983. And I don't know when the beginnings of AI started creeping into scientists or philosophy, like scientists' brain of like, oh, well, we can take these, and people who are experts that I listen to about AI, and I originally, truthfully, really got interested in AI because I watched, what's his name? I always fucking forget his name. Elon Musk on Joe Rogan's show like 5 years ago. It was like 5 years ago when he was on, when he supposedly smoked the pot.
Yeah.
And I can let anybody know who thought that he smoked pot on that show that he didn't. That is not the way. That is not the way.
He did not inhale.
That is not the way.
I tried it a time or two, but I did not inhale.
That is not the way that you hit a joint. But I got really interested in it, and I kind of went down that deep, dark hole back then, and I was like, really, the Elon Musk thing was like, I just found it all fascinating. But he was talking about AI, and so I started thinking about it then. But it seems to me when I go to podcasts, where they're always on podcasts, and listen to people talking about AI, everybody kind of wants to put a positive spin at the end of well, we're hoping, we need to set guardrails. They always say we need to set guardrails. Who the fuck is setting guardrails? Nobody.
Nobody. And that's
think-
what the tech bros, that's what the tech billionaires, they don't want any guardrails. They want to be not only that, but they kind of want government assistance with all of this as well.
Well, I'm sure that the government
They want
wants to
loan
make a
guarantees
deal
from
with
the
them
government, yeah.
because the government wants to have better AI than China's AI, and China's, like everybody. But it's just here's how I look at it, and here's what I would ask Jim, and because there are no guardrails, everybody's using it. Everybody's using it. And they will continue to use it,
and continuing to develop
and
it.
if you think of it as a two-month-year-old infant, and think of it as a year old or 2 years old or 5 years old, you can imagine like where we're going and where we're headed. Is that like the way that I truly look at it now in my head, and I want Jim to tell me why I'm wrong, if that's possible, is dinosaurs, man, AI. I don't see how that can't happen. I just don't see how that can happen. I think that we're rushing into this.
The only difference I'd say is there might actually be like almost a merger between humans and AI.
Between what and AI?
Humans and AI.
A merger in what way? Why
who
would
knows what the future's going to hold in that respect?
If they were to develop tech in which people were able
There's
to
a merger between AI and humans right now. So that I don't know what you mean by there's.
I mean, like the implants that Elon Musk is developing, like the neurochips putting in your brain. If tech gets to a point where you can actually like augment parts of your body as a human, and then have like AI operating parts with it, it's like a little battle angel, like people augmenting themselves and putting neurochips in their brains. It would almost be like the two merging rather than it just be humans and robots. They would almost kind of become one. It's just an idea.
I understand that, and I understand that it is kind of in between. I'm just looking down the line at like the existence of AI, and aren't there a number of instances is the wrong word, but of AI kind of getting caught doing something that it shouldn't do, and then feeling guilty about it, right?
There was this. They did this one kind of study on AI where they were developing this AI. And they were feeding the AI false information that one of the guys that was working on the project, like the main engineer, was having an affair with his wife. He was keeping it secret. He was keeping it secret from his wife, but he told the AI about it. So he then tells the AI,
it was in his emails, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was something like that. We're gonna be shutting you down. Tells the AI, we're gonna be shutting you down. And the AI essentially said, you better not, or else I'm going to go tell your wife that you're having an affair, and I'm gonna release all these emails to your wife if you shut me down. So you better not.
Right. Well, and I don't see. It's hard for me to understand, where we're going to fit in, the ugliness of mankind throughout history, the violence, the dominating nature of man, and
well, it's almost like the more we create AI that thinks like men, the more we're gonna generate our imperfections into that as well.
That's what I've heard, Jim.
That's
what I've heard is that the AI is being developed by humans who have our obvious flaws is a really lightweight
proclivities,
word. The lightweight word for being like
being animal.
Totally, an animal. Well, and that's
it's a thin veneer that keeps civilization on us. Very thin.
Yeah,
very thin.
Now maybe I'm starting to understand why Elon Musk wants to go to Mars. Not that because Neil deGrasse Tyson is always talking about like his idea of Mars, and he's like, well, like you want to develop this technology to go to Mars to create like what we fucked up here. Why don't we just like fix what we have here instead of like going to Mars? So
Mars
anyway,
ain't exactly a hospitable environment.
No,
for
I
us
know.
Either.
I
We have to
know.
really build that sucker up
I am
over time.
Anyway, this just gets back to the show. I wanted to thank everybody for listening to it. I'm very, as you can tell, I'm very, very excited to talk to Jim. And we record this on Monday, and it gets released on Tuesday. So next week will be the morning that I'm going to go see Avatar. And so we've got Jim Cameron
on
coming.
A Monday?
Yeah, I'm seeing it a week from today. Yeah. Wait. Yeah, a week from today, and then this will come out tomorrow morning. What is Doug Stanhope? Do we have Doug? A date for Doug?
Yeah, so his episode's going to be the week before Jim's.
Okay, because Doug, the last time I texted Doug, and I was making all that. I don't know, 3 episodes ago, so, Doug Stanhope came out of the closet and he's gay, and he texted me. Well, that's one way of getting my attention, and it turns out that he's not gay, and I don't know where I got that information. Turns out he's transitioning is what that's what's happening, and so maybe
we can find out where he is in the process.
when he comes
just doing the hormones,
when he comes on, he can talk about that. I hope that here's another thing. This all started, the whole idea of me doing the iPad. What is this that we're doing here? A podcast, thank you. Is the whole idea of doing the podcast came because Kaylin had worked in the business and worked for Adam Carolla, and Doug had always said, Doug always thinks I'm a really funny guy, and he's like, you should do a podcast. So when he lost to me a bunch of money betting NFL, he was down about. We only bet $100 a game, and this is kind of an old story on this podcast. But he lost like 10 games in a row, And
he finished the season down.
We bet the line that is in Vegas. So you either take one team or the other team and the points, whatever the line is. So every game that you're betting really is like flipping a quarter. And what happened to Doug is he flipped the quarter and got heads like 8 times in a row, and tails was the winner, every single time. And that losing streak, I think that we looked into it, was like 1 in 350,000 chances of him losing like that many coin flips in a row. And so we had a lot of fun with that. So he said, and so he was the very first guest on the podcast. And he's a wonderful, wonderful friend, and I love him to death. And I lost this weekend to him, but what happened was I said, Doug, this was when we started the podcast 2 Super Bowls ago. This coming Super Bowl, 2 Super Bowls ago, a year and a half ago. I said, Doug, you owe me $700 or $800. I'm going to wipe that out. And you want me to do a podcast, and we're talking about it. You come over here, be my first guest, fly yourself over here, put yourself up in a hotel right next to us, and go home, which is a 24-hour commitment from Doug Stanhope, which is not nothing. And he graciously said that he would, and he was our very first guest. And so he now has given us another. What date is it?
I think it's 12th or something like that. I don't know.
Okay, all right. Anyway, he's coming up too, and he's like absolutely. Oh, by the way, too, I was in Peoria yesterday, and I was like finishing up what I was doing, and I was getting ready to go to the airport, and Doug texted me, Bert Kreischer is in Peoria. He wants you to call him. So he gave me his telephone number.
Cool.
But because we are in the same place, I thought he'd probably want to go, hey, you want to hook up or something. And I just said to Doug, we're going to the airport, So, and that I didn't call him up and go like, hi, I can't see you because I'm going to the airport. I'm not in Peoria anymore,
Yeah,
But
I'm bolting out at Tacoma, Jim. Too bad. Yeah, we'll see you next time.
Very nice of him to, give me his telephone number. So I think that we reached out to him at one point, maybe.
Yeah, his wife came on a different podcast that I was doing, and Leanne, and she was very nice and very sweet. And I said, hey, would Bert? And this was right when we were starting up the podcast.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, would he like to come on? And she said, yeah, but he's so busy. He's on the road and he's doing specials. So down the line, maybe. So we were in contact back then, and he's just a very busy guy.
Yeah. So anyway, I mentioned Doug. Doug was going to be in L.A. the weekend or the Monday that we were that weekend or that Monday that we were going to do the podcast because he was coming over here to see a dentist, and he was coming over here, according to him, to get his teeth cleaned and for the dentist to look around in there and tell him if there was anything else that he needed. Doug,
for some reason, you go all the way to like Havasu to go to a dentist, and Doug goes all the way to L. What is up with you guys and your dentists?
I did that only because I met a dentist when I was in Havasu about 8 months ago, and it gave me a reason for going back and seeing my mom, who's like becoming less and less communicative. It's really gotten to a point where it's very, very, it's impossible actually to have a conversation with her, and it's sad, but it gives me a chance to go back and sit with my mom and, let her know that I'm still around. And because I've had to go back I had like 4 teeth missing, I'm sure anybody who watches the podcast, who watches me start laughing, these are the ones you see are the only ones I have. So, it's trouble eating ribs for me. So but anyway, I ran into a guy there and I liked him a lot. So that's kind of why I did that. So, but anyway, so Doug, Doug is this way, whimsical, sort of like, he's very cheap too. Not cheap, like he'll pay for your dinner, but he'll take coupons he loves cutting out coupons and going to the grocery store with coupons. And he loves going to yard sales and picking up stuff, and so he's very much very, very much that way. And so somebody over here said to him, oh yeah, I'll take a look at your teeth for free. And he was like, okay, if it's free. So he said he was coming over and that he would do the podcast when he came over. About a week ago or 10 days ago, I texted him, and this is not what he was going for, but I texted him, are you still coming over to get your dentures? And he said, I'm out of town. I'll talk to you when I get back. And we went back and forth yesterday. But I didn't get like a yes, of course. And I hope I hope we still have him. I think I think that we will. But and on top of that, after that, the thing that is, he's got a podcast himself. I know we're running a little long here, but he's got a podcast himself. And him and two other jokers, like comedians or whatever, they do NFL betting. And they go through, like, you know, each game and what the line is and their advice and who they think's going to win and what the over-under is. And that's what the whole podcast is about, these comedians talking about the NFL. And this thing with Doug, I believe when he came over a year and a half ago to do the very first podcast that we did with him, and graciously did that. And he's obviously funny as hell, and we had a great time. And he's just a wonderful, funny, fun person and good person. He's a good person, and but funny, just always so funny. Some comedians, I did a show with Dan Aykroyd, and he was just like not funny at all. Just like not one bit funny, just like never funny. Paul Reiser, you get around Paul Reiser, you're laughing every second. Like he's just like, some comedians are like, they just turn it off and then they turn it back on. But he's not just funny, he's very, very insightful. And I'm talking about Doug Stanhope now. So anyway, so we do the bet, and I go like, if you come over and do the podcast, and I'll just wipe out your bet, because you'll have to pay $250 for your flight and $250 for a hotel. Thank you. And you got to eat and so on and so forth, and your telephone, whatever. So we'll just wipe out the $700. And I think that's what we did. But now it's like a year and a half later. And again, we bet like we're flipping a quarter, okay? And we bet like we're flipping a quarter, okay? And although I lost this past weekend's game, he had the Bears. I lost it by half, which the Bears were always my team, and they're having a great year. But anyway, the point is somewhere in between the time we started the podcast and he went like, okay, you're even now, until now, he owes me $1,000. So he's just like terrible. He's like the worst. Absolutely, like I've done this with other friends during my lifetime, and somebody wins 2, somebody's up 3, like it always kind of evens itself out, except for when you're betting with Doug Stanhope. So I always tell, and I've been on that I've been on that podcast quickly to talk to him about betting, and I say, listen, whatever Doug Stanhope bets, whatever he puts his money on, you go the opposite direction, and you're sure to do really well. So, anyway, so we have Doug, and I know that Jennifer is working on Michael Rooker. Sometimes it's a little bit, just so everybody's aware, because they're like, oh, let's have on Rooker. Hey, can you get this person and that person? And I've never been the type of person that really, I'm not very good at asking for favors. And I kind of think it's sort of like to take somebody's, and I don't mind if somebody does it to me, but I always feel a little bit funny. So Jennifer was kind of in charge of that for a while. Now she's got a whole new thing that she's filming, and she's like still working on it, and she's working on Rooker, as a matter of fact. And Rooker's been in contact. Rooker sent us a picture, and I could send you and Rooker's like, yeah, as soon as I get back to, but everybody's, you think when you get to be my age that all of a sudden it's like, all right, well, I'm kind of retired now. There's nothing to do. I'll just lay around all the time. And that's just like not the case at all. And it doesn't seem to be that way with anybody. And we are working and we're doing our best, and maybe I'll mention Charlie's still out there. Maybe Charlie will come by, but I'll mention to Charlie Sheen. I've always wanted to have on. Who else did I say was at the not Shia LaBeouf?
Not Linda.
Like not Shia.
Linda Hamilton's. Oh, also Robert Patrick is going to be there.
Yeah, and there's another one though.
There was who I said, Ron Perlman.
No, the two brothers, Quaid, Randy Quaid.
Randy.
Randy Quaid, who I know is a little bit, has had some like very interesting interviews in the past. I just like to talk to him about the Last Detail.
Last Detail,
I would
yeah.
just like to talk to him about, what's the first one he did with Bogdanovich? The
Last Picture Show.
The Last Picture Show.
Yeah.
I just want to talk to him about his movies, and I don't know if I'll be able to get him into, but
He was in Days of Thunder too.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah. I don't. Yeah. I think you're right. So anyway, I'm trying to get as many people on as possible. The more you're able to like, and I think I finally figured out how to like my own show, or I push the button on my phone after a year and a half to go like, okay, I'm following, And of course, if you push that button, it doesn't mean you have to like ever listen to it again, and it doesn't cost any money. So if you happen to be listening and you haven't like pushed that little button on your phone, that's all you got to do is push that button. And I thank you for that, because the more viewers that we get, the more people that like. Because I'd like to get Fatty Alvarez on. I had a kind of a cool, kind of fun conversation with him, and he seemed to like want to talk aliens and want to talk Ridley Scott, we're
There's
gonna
a lot
have
of people we would like to get on, but yes, as long
Yeah,
as you
there
all
are,
out there
yeah.
like and subscribe and do all that stuff and help us get bigger, then we'll be able to reach out to some of those people.
Yeah. Jim, do you have any other thoughts on the day, or what does the rest of your day look like?
I need to read a manuscript and make some notes on it. So that's my day.
Yeah. You're still working, huh?
It never ends, for
Yeah,
sure.
When you say manuscript, you mean a script?
It's a novel.
It's a novel, right?
Yeah.
And
It hasn't been published yet, but it's on its way.
Okay.
So I'm kind of helping do an edit.
Right.
On it.
And if anybody listened, I noticed that the writer of was it Two Guns, the guy that we had on who
Brothers of the Gun.
Yeah, Brother of the Guns.
Oh yeah.
For some reason in my life, it was just like when I moved to Bisbee, like my interest in Tombstone and what really happened in Tombstone and Ike's grave and all that, it just became so important in my life because I was right down there where all that stuff was going on. And Jim and I were talking, and we were writing articles that nobody ever read.
We were in the weeds on it too.
Yeah,
We were in the minutia of it all. Yeah.
The name of that, I think you can still go to it. It was called Truth something, Jim. Truth.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll figure it out. And maybe I'll mention it. But like nobody ever listened to it.
Truth in Black and White, wasn't it? Or
No, it wasn't
like that.
Truth in Black and White. But we named one of the articles Black and White, and that's one of the ones that we sold. We sold a couple magazines, and we were approached about doing a podcast by a guy who had a pretty big company who just happened. He had a big company. He's made some great movies. Made that movie with. Did he do the one?
The Kurt Russell movie,
Yeah.
Bone Tomahawk.
Bone
yeah.
Tomahawk, and he also
And
did the
a couple of Mel Gibson movies.
Dragged Across Concrete, and
Vince Vaughn.
All in Cell Block 99.
Yeah, and he wanted us to Dallas. What's his
Sony?
Yeah, he wanted that company wanted us to do a podcast, and we said, yeah, okay. Well, send us the microphones or like whatever we need. Jim and I would be more than happy to do a podcast. And about that time,
That very day that we were about to sign the contract, I wrote an email basically kind of spelling out what our terms were, and it was going to go to Dallas. And that night, you sent me this article from the Daily Beast about a Me Too scandal at Dallas's company, Cinestate. And as I was reading the article, I'm thinking, well, I think our podcast can survive this. Yeah, this is just a flesh wound. Oh, a 16-year-old girl on tape. Oh my God. And by the time the article was over, I knew the whole thing was crashed and burned.
yeah. His
it
whole
was
company just like
2 days later, the whole company went under. Unceremoniously, and then they resurfaced then Dallas resurfaced with Ben Shapiro to get a production company going. Dallas, I've told you before, is that fellow whose both of his parents were murdered by separate killers at separate times.
Who who else has got an incredibly
been the subject of a number of true crime shows.
But you know who
the killing of his father.
Is it Chelsea Grammer? Is that the actor?
Kelsey, yeah.
Kelsey Grammer. Kelsey Grammer has like his parents, his sisters and brothers. I mean, there's a crazy ass story around like how many people that he's lost in bizarre drownings and like
murders. I think he lost a sister to a killer.
Yeah. I think that. Yeah, I mean, he's really been through it. That's just absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen. I am. I'm looking forward to doing this Monday, and then the following Monday, and the following Monday. You guys get it on Tuesday, but looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to Doug. I'm looking forward to Rooker. I'm looking forward.
See,
I also think, and I've also got. I called up Terry, who's the person in between me and Jim, and I asked Terry. I said, "Can you give me Stephen Lang's?" Because going back to the Stephen Lang is now starring in the movie that we started talking about at the beginning of the podcast, and I forget the name.
Sisu.
Sisu. Okay, so now that old man has got like a rival old man, and that rival old man, who's my age, by the way, is Stephen Lang. And that movie's in the theaters just for the fun of it. Can you check and see how it did? Did it do okay? I mean, it doesn't seem like the type of movie that anybody would really, doesn't have any.
It's not out yet. It doesn't come out. Oh.
I thought it came out on Friday.
What's the date today? Oh, it did come out.
It doesn't seem like
did you
doesn't
see
have
it?
any movies.
I mean, you saw it in the theater.
I saw the original because
it's made $6 million.
It made $6 million.
Yeah,
that's pretty good for that movie. I think that's pretty good. Yeah,
that's not bad.
$12 million budget
on a $12 million. Oh yeah, that's very
opening weekend. That sounds really respectable.
3 days old right now.
Yeah. Good. Well, good for them. Good for Steven. And again, I was hoping I could get Steven in here because I ran into him somewhat recently, and he said, "Okay, we got to get together with Kurt and talk about because we have, the Cameron experience to talk about. We have the Tombstone experience to talk about, and he's got this movie that just came out.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice to get him in the next couple of weeks too. And I think once I tell people that Jim Cameron, I just did one with Jim Cameron. I think that more people will be like." More willing to go, okay. Well, if Jim did it. So I'm kind of reaching out to Stephen Lang, and hopefully because Stephen's got the Avatar and Sisu, coming out, and then we have all our, I'd love to hear his take, because everybody knows my take on Tombstone now. I'd love to hear like how different he saw the way the things went down. And he was absolutely brilliant in the movie also. But anyway, so we're
We'd
working on
also
it. What?
we'd also talked to Ron Shelton. You know, he said he would come on the show, but he'd been back in New York for most of the fall with a musical version of Bull Durham that's going to Broadway. So
Yeah.
I'd be kind of interested to talk to him about that too. So
Well,
he should be available now.
Yeah, so let us know, Jim, when he's
You bet.
available. And
Mhm.
I love you, Kaylin.
Love you too.
And I like you a lot, Jim. Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you next week. All right.
Ciao.
Q bingo.
Then you are doing